this computer. Okay, well, great. So welcome. So today what we're going to do, it's 2 hours. This is about a little after 10 o'clock Pacific time. We'll go to 12 o'clock. I'll give you a short introduction. I have developed a course around this, and I have some handout materials. So I will reference those. If you missed it last week, I'll give you both the reference materials, and you can kind of take a look at those and use those. And then I'll give you a short explanation of, today it will be about how to break down the empathy circle. And then we'll go into an empathy circle. And I think we have 1 or 2 circles here. I don't know, we'll have to see how we go at the end of that time. So hopefully we'll get through that introductory part in about a half an hour. So anyway, we'll start with some introductions. If you could say, who you are, where you are, and just, a few sentences about how you might like to use this. Or if this is your first time, I notice some people, I don't know if you've had experience with empathy circles before, but if it's your first time, let me know that. And, I'm just kind of seeing what this is all about. So I'll just go around and get started. Katrina, could you do a little intro?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Katrina. I live in Bristol. I've done 2 empathy circle trainings a while back. I'm here because I'm curious and I'm intrigued by this idea of getting empathy training into schools. And I must admit, I haven't really worked out how I think I can use it or apply it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's important. I have a sort of gut feeling that it's very important. That's why I'm
Thank
here.
you, Katrina. Well, hopefully we get some helpful information here. Meg or Maria? I remembered.
No, Meg is fine. Meg
Okay.
is fine. It
Okay.
sounds more American, but I'm
Okay,
from
that's right.
from Rome, Italy, and I've been using empathy circles since 2014, as a matter of fact. And I'm trying very hard to introduce the circles in the Italian school system. Last time I said I was getting close to it. I think I was too optimistic, and I had some news later after we did the circle last time. It's not going so smoothly. So that's one of my concerns, because I find myself that when I try to push things too much, then the thing doesn't work for me on the first place. So I'm here to learn, and I'm here to empathize with others.
Great. Well, I've faced some of the same things, so you can empathize with me. Okay, Dow.
Hi, I'm coming from Austin, Texas. Very excited to be with everyone here. Very inspired hearing Meg's story. Curious what the kids want. That's where I'm coming from. I'd like to empathize with the kids. If we're doing an empathy program with the kids, what do they want? What type of empathy circle would meet their needs? What platforms are they using? How can we meet them where they're at? So all those questions are interesting to me, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay, great. And hopefully there's some things that hopefully will be helpful to you today to address it. Freddie.
Hello, I'm Freddie. I'm in Lincolnshire in the UK. I'm here because this is my first time. I'm here because I'm interested in what it's all about. I think I could benefit from having more empathy, and I could benefit the people around me, my family, my friends, and the people I work with. And I haven't experienced this before, but the concept excites me. So yeah, I'm here to learn and keen to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. Have you done an empathy circle before, Freddie?
I've so Aaron actually
Okay.
and we've spoken about it, and we've sort of done it together.
So you know the basics. Okay.
I know the basics. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Sally.
I appreciate being here and that you're doing this. I think the only way to do this process is to start with young children. I do believe as you get older, like my age, you know, even if you think you are doing empathy, a lot of the times you can slip. And so I believe in what you're doing. And I just think it needs to get started, and ideally it can move to different areas.
Great. Thanks. Great to have you here, Sally. Hopefully there's something helpful for you today. Jerry. You're muted. Oh, there we go.
Hi, my name is Jerry Chang, and I met David. Was it his name, David? Gosh, I forget. But I met, gosh, I don't want to forget his name, but
Okay.
I have it somewhere. I met someone who was part of the Empathy Circle network in Berkeley when I was buying a bike off of him. And it was just wonderful because it aligned with a lot of the work I was doing in East Palo Alto, which is an underserved community in the Bay Area. And yeah, I wanted to bring more of this kind of technique into what I was doing, and also, yeah, just dive deeper into this realm. So this is my first, I think, this would be like my second circle, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We did 2 practice ones that I think counted as 1.
That's okay. That's all right. And we'll accept that. Okay. Aaron, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here again. This is probably my third or fourth, maybe my fourth empathy circle. Yeah, lots of synchronicity. I got introduced to empathy circles through Facebook, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, through Extinction Rebellion in the UK. Anne was on my first empathy circle, so she helped introduce this to me. And yeah, and then I saw this, the fact that there's a discussion happening around it being specifically in education, and my career has just taken a beeline that way. I love how young people I love how unstable they are in a way, but in the way that they're like, they can be badly influenced or positively influenced, which means that when they're young, there's just so much work and there's so much positive impact that can be done. And although I have a love and a want to help all young people, I'm specifically interested, or particularly interested in young men, as the suicide rates, they affect me deeply. There's a lot of men in my life that I love and I want to support, and even if I'm not with them geographically, I want to somehow make an impact so that they are in an environment which is supportive. And I think empathy is just a fantastic tool to achieve that. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here.
Great, thank you, Anne. Anne.
I'm Anne Jordan, and I'm in southwest of England. I've been in Extinction Rebellion 2.5 years, and whilst in Extinction Rebellion came across empathy circles and could see they were really good, but it took me a few months and I went back, and then I thought, yeah, this is something I want to really put my energy and heart into. So I'm pretty passionate about growing them. I used to be a teacher. I'm passionate about young people and well, people and learning and growing. And so I was delighted that Bill's doing this topic, and hope to find a way to be of use to support this or support others doing this work.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne. Linda, welcome. You're frozen, Linda? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I'm Linda. I'm in Pembrokeshire in Wales. I guess I'm interested in this for a few reasons. The main one, year-old is in their school is just about to work. So I'm interested to see what kind of thing practice. I'm especially interested because my child, he's actually my brother. So he's definitely somebody who has from other children and needs to learn that for himself. And sort of coming from really.
Okay, so Linda, I just want to let you know, you broke up a bit. I got some of the gist of what you got, but you might want to turn off your video, and that will save some bandwidth because your audio is breaking up.
Okay, thanks.
So can you hear us, Linda?
I can, yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, now you're coming much. So did you want to, I got the gist of what you said, but do you want to quickly recap what you said?
Because of the school saying that they're going to do this empathy workshop, that's really something that I would sort of discover what good practice is about so that I can engage.
Okay, you're still cutting in and out. Anne, yes.
Oh, she's.
Sorry, Linda. You're still cutting out, and we'll see how things go. Sometimes when this happens to me, I come closer to my router. I don't know. That might help too.
I can't get much closer.
Okay. All right. Technical problems. Okay. Well, we'll try to hang in with you. Okay. I put in, I kind of double put it in because I think I was on a private thing. So I want to make sure that I gave it to everyone. Oh, no, it is to everyone. So there were two things that I put in there. One that says support for empathy circles. These are Word documents. I also, last week I gave this out for those who are here, and I have a link to a Google document, which anybody who has the link can get access to. If you can't open the Word document, let me know. Let me, by the way, put my email in here. So if there's something that is not resolved, you can email me and then I can send you the link too. So no, I didn't even do that right. Sorry, don't. Get it right. Okay, that's the right one. Okay, 2 D's in Paddling Man. Okay, yeah. And
Bill, could you pop the link into the chat again, because it's not there now. If you're not your email, but the link to the document you're referring to. Thank you.
I don't have the link. I have a Word document.
Okay.
So can you? I don't. Not everybody gets Word. Let's see. That was 3, and I put them in again. Anyway, I'll kind of review them, and then I'll do a share screen, No, 2 documents so far that I've given out. I have some more if you want them. So it should be support for empathy in schools, and then using informal assessments and things like that. Yeah, okay. So I will quickly review. We went over this last week. That was my little mini lecture last week over this, and I'll share my screen. And then I'll just kind of, I'll review these 2 documents and try to do it fast. All right. Desktop 1, I don't see it. Okay. So why is that? Oh, because it's not open. Okay. All right, now it'll work. Okay. So this is something that I linked to support for empathy circles. Again, I do have a Google Doc, and as we go through, I'll try to put those links in there if you can't open it. If you do have Word, you should be able to open it. And the basic thing, this is from the California Department of Education. And I just want to focus what they talk about, the importance of social emotional learning. So why am I giving you this? Not everybody lives in California, but this is based on international research. And so if we have this in California, there's probably something in the education code, wherever you are, that talks about something like this. And so this is basically institutional support for this sort of learning. And what they say is social emotional learning reflects the critical role of positive relationships and emotional connections in the learning process and helps students develop a range of skills they need for school and life. This is being implemented in small ways. There are various things, Dominic Barter's restorative circles and things like that, restorative justice, very good things that are really an attempt to open dialogues between people rather than simply meting out consequences. Again, I have this, you can have the whole document. I won't do it all, but this is an excellent document to go to if you're looking for, you want to present it to, your principal or superintendent or anybody else. Why should you do this? Well, this is what the California Department of Education says. And I won't go and read the whole thing, but you can click in, there's a link for the guiding principles. And then they talk about how to integrate it into the curriculum. And they have these 5 steps. You go forward, and then I have here, this is just taken from the California Department of Education. So they basically talk and flesh out these steps for implementation, how it affects not only schools, but also the families. And then also here, I included the bibliography so that you can go and you can see all of these links, and these are another resource for you. So it's basically a resource. This is all of the, and then this other part down here is that one of the things that teachers will say is, I don't have 2 hours, I don't have time to do this. And you have to teach the skills for anything if you're going to have kids use it and practice it. And this is from, now over here, this is the link to the latest goals, educational goals for the California Department of Education. It's done in a rubric form. This is a bit older, but essentially the concepts stand. There are several threads throughout our goals here: literary response and analysis, listening and speaking strategies, and speaking applications. So what I want to emphasize here is these are things and goals and learning outcomes that are already being taught, but actually depend upon and mesh very well, with the skills that we teach in the empathy circle. So students listen and respond to stories based on well-known characters, themes, plots, and settings, etc. Students listen and respond to oral communication. What are we doing in the empathy circle? But we're taking a certain amount of time, we're summarizing what we want to say, and then as a listener, we try to understand and then reflect what the person is saying. And then students deliver brief recitation. So all of this is being taught in the empathy circle. And so you can actually just take whatever you're doing in literary analysis or reading from K, this is from kindergarten, all the way up to 11, to almost to college and to high school, where the goal is the same, but it gets more sophisticated. So when you're looking for some sort of research base, a lot of times people say we want research based or science based. This is the place to go to. Okay, and there's a lot more I could say, but I won't because I'm going to go in here now. Okay, can you all see this now? Is everybody seeing using informal assessment? All right, I don't. Can you see it, Ann, on your screen? Is it coming up?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So let me stop the share. All right. Let me.
I'm a little lost. Did you email this? Because I don't know where it went.
Yes. Okay.
The word.
The word is in the. I didn't email it. Okay. So Linda has the document downloaded. Great. Okay. So if you have Word, you should be able to do it. All right. And here I'll go. Now you should be able to see it. Can people see it now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that first document, and again, I'll try to, before I leave today, I'll give you the Google Doc. I have it in Google Docs as well, and then I can get you the link. And then if, as long as you got that, then you can also see it. It's the same thing. And so this, we in the first one, we established the research base and the institutional support for this sort of learning. It's already there. The second, this is using informal assessment and social reinforcement as signposts for implementation. So this is, what do you do? How do you know when a student is ready to do an empathy circle? And so I'll define informal assessment. Informal assessment is kind of the way it can be teacher-made quizzes, things like that. But a formal assessment is a research normed test. And what that means is that in a formal assessment, we used to give one called the Woodcock-Johnson, which was a measure of academic achievement. And there was a scandal in the 70s about this, because essentially they had only normed it around the offices of the Woodcock-Johnson people, which was in suburban Virginia. And they didn't really take into account inner city kids and things like that. So it wasn't normed enough. I don't think you have the time or resources to do a full-flown, formal assessment. So we're going to use informal assessment. And so this is to help you understand when the students or the adults and stuff that you're teaching this to have both the skills and the motivation to do it, because that's what motivates us. That's what will get us to practice it. And that's what we want. We want this eventually to be a regular practice. So there's the rationale, there are two ways that people motivate us to do things. The first one is sort of an external demand. It's kind of coercive. Do this because I said so. You want to get this degree, you want to get this job, do it, okay? What we are trying to do, although sometimes external demand, I think, is a useful tool. I'm not saying throw it out, but we are trying to develop an intrinsic motivation. And what's that? And the example I will use is my love for being on the water. My father didn't force me to be on the water, but we went out and he showed me how to water ski and how to swim and how to scuba dive and to do a bunch of things, and I love it. And I developed my own intrinsic motivation because I had an experience. And that's what we want to do with the empathy circle. And the experience here is the experience of being heard. Okay. And so essentially what we do is we expose the students to the experience, they enjoy it, they feel fulfilled by it, and so they want to repeat it. Again, just went over that. And again, I'll go through these very quickly. You feel free to, I'll have the links. All right. So what I mean by informal assessment here is when I was a special education teacher, by the way, I'm Bill Filler, I'm a retired special education teacher. I didn't check in, but I was a special education teacher for 40 years. And I have a master's degree, whatever that means. I have no idea. So anyway, what we'll say is that in informal assessments, and here's the definition, are those spontaneous forms of assessment that can easily be incorporated in the day-to-day classroom activities that measure the student's performance and progress. They are content and performance driven. So what we're using here is informal assessment because you'll be in a class or you'll be in a situation with a group of people and you want to know, will this be successful or not? And when we design goals in California, we had a yearly meeting, which was legally binding, called an IEP, or Individual Educational Plan or Program. And we had goals in math. So-and-so will learn his times tables, and he'll be able to do that with 80% effectiveness. And so I'm using that that kind of guideline, 80%, 4 out of 5 times, because it's easy to measure, okay, and it's scientifically rigorous. And so when someone can do something with 80% efficiency, they are said to be, proficient. By now, you don't want your pilot to be 80% efficient. There's sometimes that occur, but for your times tables, nobody's going to get killed. So that's what we're using, 80%. And so when you're teaching the skills, you're thinking, just really, just by the seat of your pants. About 4 out of 5 times this child can do this. And also, they get, about 80%, but they still need to understand this or this areas of growth. But if you can just do that, and you can do that pretty quickly, especially if you know your students or you're with them every day, you will know them. That can be a really good way to quickly assess a student and see whether they're ready to participate. So that's what informal assessments, and that we're using that. And I talk about the components. There are 2 things. If is motivation, this is enjoyable to me. And the other one is skill mastery. Can I do it? If I have motivation, but I don't have the skill mastery, most likely I love the water. I tried surfing. I love the idea of surfing, but I couldn't get it past all the waves, It's like so I didn't have the skills and I didn't spend the time to master the skill. So I'm not a surfer, I'm a kayaker. We talked about that. And this basically tells you what kind of fleshes out what I said. And what are the—
Bill?
Yeah.
Bill, may I interrupt and ask you about the story with what you said, the surfing with kids and empathy? How do we get them motivated? How do we get them to where empathy can be a fun skill?
Right, exactly. And I'm going to get to that. Thanks, Dow. Okay, yeah, I'll get to that. So what we're talking about here is being able, and this is very closely aligned with people who are know about nonviolent communication. And in nonviolent communication, they not only look at the words, but they look for the feelings and values. And I think they have some other names, needs they use and things like that underneath. And so those are the skills, the explicit skills, the analyzation skills that we're trying to get. So to be able to reflect the words, to reflect the feelings, and to reflect the underlying values. And the example I gave here is, I saw a mean man kicking his dog yesterday. So the words are, I heard you say that you saw a man beating a dog yesterday. The feelings underneath that, by the emotional, charge behind it, I felt that you were very sad to see something like that happen. So that's beneath the words that they're saying. And the value is, I sense that you value lives very much and you think they should be treated with kindness. So that's an example of those three. And that's something that we want the kids to start to do, that will align with their literary analysis goals. If they can do that, they can do those literary analysis goals. Okay. And I have a lot more here, but I want to get to what Dow said and get into this. I'll stop the sharing. And so the question is, how do we get the kids to do this? If you talk to right here, can you take and start with a 2-hour block of time for a kid to listen to something? And the answer is no. The kids won't necessarily, be ready for this. If I'm talking to a kindergarten teacher, 2 hours of sitting still, what are you, crazy? That's not going to happen. And also teachers, as we know, have a very full day. They don't have 2 hours to do this. So then I had to ask myself, so why, how do you develop this motivation? And when you break it down to the nub, what you're giving kids in answer to Dow's question is to be heard, the feeling of being heard. When somebody is being heard, especially when it's a child and you're an authority figure and you just reflect them, that is a very, very powerful experience for them. And so what I suggest is that you start there. Now I have various models about how to implement it, how to break it down and put it back together, but I won't go into it, into too much detail. But that's where it starts, being heard. So you can be out on the playground with a kid. There are generally going to be some problems in the playground. Somebody's going to come crying to you, or somebody's going to be sitting alone. And you can just go up and say, how are you feeling? And can I, reflect that? And you just listen to the child. It can be a minute. It can be less. Oh, and is this right? And then when you ask them, this is right. There are several things that you're communicating. Beyond the words, you're saying you're important, how you feel is important, and I'm going to take the time to try to understand that. And that is more profound than I think we understand, just that act. And that's the nub, just listening to the kids. So you can do it, just one time a day. You can do it like in a check-in in the morning. I had a very relatively small class because my kids were very involved, very intense. But in a class of 30 or 40, you could take, I'll listen for a minute to 5 kids, reflect them, say that's 10 minutes out of your day. The other kids see that, then go to another 5 the next day, or another 5 the next day. But the atom, let's say, of the listening circle is being heard. Now, in order for the empathy circle to really do its work, you need to put together several other steps. So that's what but it starts with just giving that experience of being heard. So just say, how are you feeling? Can I reflect that? Is that right? There are several other things that are doing. When you say that's right, you're actually giving the child authority. They're the decision maker as to what's right or how they're feeling, and they can correct you. So the child feels their importance is elevated. And again, just do it when you can. You know, kids at the bus. Oh, is that? Oh, you're feeling it and you're worried about going home, and you know, you're gonna have dinner tonight. These are issues that came up with my kids. You know, or you know, your parents are fighting or something like that. And, you know, just reflect. Leave it alone. Your work is done. You know, you don't have to do it, and then you just try it again until you notice that kids are coming to you listening. And then once you have 3 or 4 kids listening, the next step would then to be reflect something that you're saying, okay? Because that's important in the empathy circle is mutuality. You don't want to just have kids be burnt out. I'm the designated listener. I listen to everyone. No, you want the people who are listening to be listened to as well. And that's that next step. Once people are interested in being, you know, they feel benefits from being listened to and heard and reflected accurately, then you ask them to reflect you. And then once they do that, they have the basic skills of the empathy circle, and then you put together a small circle. Again, we can flesh these out as we go along. I've thought about various iterations. And so as we go along and as you participate in these cafes, you can tell me, well, this is my situation. How does this apply? And we can get into the, you know, to the weeds a little bit more. Okay, any questions so far about that? Yeah, Dow.
Yes, I hear that it's important, and I think kids can enjoy receiving the empathy, but when it comes to requesting that they reflect and learn those exercises,
yeah,
how is that fun for them? Like kids, I think generally are about wanting to have fun. How do we create it to where it's a fun experience? It's something they look forward to.
Well, it's interesting because I get because when they feel that way. So first of all, you let that you listen to them until they start to request being listened to. In other words, what's your marker for whether the child is ready? If they come up to you, how, you know, I liked, you know, being reflected yesterday. Could you reflect me again, or can you do that again? So once you do that, you know that they value the experience. And then, you know, you have to use your judgment about the child and what their skill level is and things like that. However, but then you say, okay, and would you reflect me? And it's amazing what pride they have, what pride I have when somebody says, I really feel heard. I mean, my heart swells. That's my favorite part, actually, when that happens. And so what you're saying is that not only have I, you know, reflected you, but you actually are important enough to provide me with support. And you're the adult and the authority figure. So that, again, don't discount that. That's a lot of, you know, that carries a lot of weight. So the fact that they can do that, and when you say, I feel heard, thank you so much, they also feel that they've given back. And so these are some, you know, underlying emotions that, again, we can talk about a bit more. I mean, I won't do it now, but that are very powerful. So that's you just kind of see if they come asking and they want to be heard like 2-3 times, then I'd say, oh, could you reflect me for a second? You know, and see how that goes. As an adult, you don't want to talk about your impending divorce or any very charged, you know, issues. But it could be like, you know, like we got a new puppy and the puppy's biting everything. And so I might talk about how I'm trying to train my puppy or something like that. You want to make it not too charged. Sally, I see a hand.
Yes. Oh, okay. I came up with, just flashed, and you talked about iterations, about conflict resolution and the principal's office. And just that whole, you know, children can be seen but not heard. I know when I was growing up, that deep fear, but I would think that an empathy circle methodology integrated, instead of a fear-based punishment, might be an iteration to consider. And to look it up in the California Code under education as to how to proceed with punishment. So that's my idea.
Okay, yeah. So in special ed, we didn't use the term punishment. We didn't really punish people. What we did is we did set limits. And that's different. There's a compassionate way to set limits. So yeah, so restorative justice, Dominic Barter, restorative justice and things like that, they deal with some of that as which is essentially to establish a dialogue between parties to a conflict, instead of suspending and just cutting people off. But that is not proactive. And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing against Dominic Barter's work. Is great work, and a lot of my friends have taken workshops, and it's adopted by the Oakland schools here. So it is good, but even Dominic Barter says that it's not proactive. In other words, it doesn't stop the problem before it begins, and empathy circles do. And the other thing is that it's experiential. And so it doesn't need to be understood on an intellectual way. In other words, if you to understand restorative circles, you have to understand a certain amount about social dynamics and and interpersonal communication and things like that. It requires that cognitive. The kids that I taught had no idea. In fact, just talking out a problem was a new experience for them. So when you give a person experience of feeling heard, it actually goes right, whatever, the limbic system, for better word. That's why I don't have a PhD, because I just throw around pseudoscience. Limbic is a scientific word, but I don't know if I'm applying it correctly here. So bear with me. But essentially, the point I'm trying to make is that it goes in underneath that intellectual understanding. It's a feeling. And that is a profound difference. Okay, I've gone on for a long time here. I want to get in, and I'll keep it to one empathy circle. And so everybody can kind of, experience and hear everybody else. And I know, Dow, you have to leave fairly soon. So I would encourage you, people are familiar with the basics of the empathy circle. Dow, I would encourage you to be first speaker and to talk about a little bit your situation. Pick a listener. We'll go for 5-minute turns. Okay.
Okay, I will pick Aaron Colley to listen. And so from what I understand clearly, I will share something that's alive for me currently, and Aaron will reflect.
Yeah, so the rules of the empathy circle is the topic, which is empathy circles in schools or things like that, or whatever is alive for you. If something else is alive for you, you can go there.
Okay, Aaron, as much as I enjoy your energy, I'm going to pick Meg because it's a question I have directly for Meg. So okay. I'll redirect, and hopefully I can reconnect with you, Aaron, another time. Okay. So I heard Meg earlier that, if I'm not mistaken, Meg, you've implemented some of these programs that.
So I just want to stop you for a second.
No, okay.
That's all right. So Meg will reflect, won't be able to answer you.
That's correct.
Directly.
Yeah, it would be my own experience of what Meg shared.
Right. And then if she chooses to, when it's her turn to speak, she might. Okay. Sorry, yeah. Just want to. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I'm clear that I can share my experience of what Meg shared earlier, and Meg reflect.
Great.
Okay. So what I heard Meg say was that Meg has a program in Italy for empathy in schools, and that in some ways it's worked, in some ways it's challenging. And for me, when I heard that was very encouraging, because I don't know, I had the thought that that's realistic. When you put in a new program, it may not go as smoothly as you think in your mind. So I was feeling encouraged by that, and really encouraged that someone has actually done this, that it's not just an idea. So that's what I was feeling. I don't know what need I was getting met by hearing that, maybe inspiration. And with that, I feel pretty complete. Meg, will you please reflect me?
Okay, yes. you felt inspired by what I said, that I had a program to introduce empathy circles in the Italian school system. You felt then that it was actually possible to do something like that, and that you, although I said, and you witnessed the fact that it's not going so smoothly as I thought, just the idea that this can be done, it's important for you, it matters to you now.
Okay.
Thank you, Meg. Yeah, I felt very complete. I would add that it also met my need for authenticity and meaning. Authenticity in that it's clear that, you know, there's not just the good side to it. There's some challenges, and the meaning is because you've done it. So I have a lot of meaning hearing from you because you've had some experience. Thank you.
Yeah, and what stays on the foreground for you are the words meaning and authenticity, because being authentic means be able to say things even if they are not perfect, and meaning, because meaning is being created by the actual experience of doing something.
Yes, I feel complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Is it my turn now?
Yep.
Yeah, I go for 5 minutes and I choose Anne. Okay, so
And you're
you have
muted.
to unmute
Ah.
yourself.
There we go.
Sorry, Meg. I'm with you.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry, I'm going to have to turn off my. Yeah. Okay. So what is important for me now is to make clear, because that I'm not very advanced into bringing the empathy circles in the Italian school system. I've been working for years with empathy circles, but not in a school setting. And because I am a trainer of trainers, I have now the opportunity to actually go into the Italian school system and teach teachers about empathy and empathy circles. I'll pause here and okay.
The very last bit, I'm going to start with the last bit to check I heard that little bit right. So I think what you said was that now you have an opportunity to go into schools to train the teachers, but I might have had that bit wrong, but you talked about that you are actually a trainer of trainers in empathy circles, but you aren't yet experienced at bringing empathy circles into schools. It's not that you have much expertise there, but it's something that you're interested in, and I sense you're beginning to work towards, and a desire to do more there. That's what I understand.
Yes,
but please
no,
correct me if I've missed and got that wrong.
No, that's what I said. So just to make clear where I am, I have been introducing empathy circles in social environments. Like when I started in 2014, we had a World Day of Listening. I am a focusing trainer, and we decided that we would do one day every year when we would go on the streets and start listening to people. That was done for a number of years in the last week of October. In that situation, when people were doing active listening in pairs, I decided, because I had done a training already with Edwin, that I would do a different setting. I would have small empathy circles um, with 4 or 5 people all together, actually discussing social problems where conflict is possible. Like, for example, in Italy, migration. We get a lot of migrants from Africa, and that's a very hot topic, and I would have people discuss that.
Okay, I'll try to reflect that. So you've been involved with empathy circles in social environments, and probably since back in 2013, you were involved in a day of listening. You and others decided to go out onto the streets and do some focused listening, just one day a year, and I think it was in the autumn. And this was initially, my understanding, where people were doing active listening in pairs. But then after having done your training with Edwin in empathy circles, you decided to change it and have 4 or 5 people together in a circle and on a focused topic, on a social issue, for example, migration. And that is an issue in Italy with migrants coming from Africa.
Yes, and just one last turn, I think I have time to say that, and that's this model, this setting is something that would work out very well in schools in Italy, because with kids from 12, 13 years, you can teach them how to debate hot political and social issues without fighting, without having to go on a riot because you do not agree or you don't exactly have the same opinion as your fellow mate. So, and we have also hours. It's called civil education hours, where this can be done very well. Again, with kids that are 12 years old and older, this model of debating social hot issues is very feasible.
So this model that you talked about using in the streets and with the circles, you think it will work very well in schools, because from age 12 or 13 years, children can be taught to actually debate by this process political and social issues without needing to get into a fight, where they can listen to different ideas and opinions. And you also said there's another program that happens, I think it was called something like Hours, and this is a civil education hour for, again, young people of 12 plus, where the topics are on social and issues to do with the heart. And again, this is a place where you think it could be done.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. I feel heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Katrina, would you listen to me, please?
Yes, certainly.
It's exciting. It's exciting. I feel excited what people are doing or where they're applying this in different areas. Hmm. So, and I'm thinking at the moment, I'm not actually involved in schools. But recently, kind of become part of a community locally of people who swim. And amongst that group of people, there are 2 teachers, and I've been talking with them and pass some information to them about something to do with climate and Extinction Rebellion. And they came back to me, or one of them did, and asked for more because she started to use it in school. And so I started to talk to them about empathy circles.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah, please do, Katrina.
I'm beginning to wonder whether I'll be able to get that all back to you. Okay, so it sounds like you're really excited, especially from hearing what other people are doing with this idea and how they're applying it in different areas. And so you're quite thoughtful because you're realizing that you're not really involved in schools, but recently you've been part of a community of swimmers, and in that community you've been talking to a couple of teachers and you've been telling them about the things that you've been doing with Extinction Rebellion. And that was when I got full up and I had to stop you. So if you could just carry on with your train from there.
Yeah, I'd passed some information. I can't remember now what it was, but it turned out that one of the teachers used it in her class and was very happy to have access to it and those ideas to use with her children. And so the other day when I saw them, I was talking to them about empathy circles and kind of the need, the changing situation in schools, certainly in the UK due to COVID and their work and the needs that they see.
Okay, so I'll reflect that back. So what happened with these teachers was you passed some information on to them, and you can't remember what it was, but what surprised you was one of the teachers actually used it in class. She told you about it, or they told you about it, and expressed their happiness at being able to use that information that you'd passed on in their class. And that initiated a conversation between you and them about empathy circles in schools and how the situation in schools, how the COVID situation is impacting what's happening in schools. And this kind of generated an opportunity for you to talk about empathy circles.
Thank you. Do I still have time?
Yeah, a little bit. Take a final, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there are 2 of them working together, and I see that as an opportunity too, that that maybe collectively they could introduce something. And so I'm not sure where this is going to go with them yet, but I think for me, engaging with this could potentially, engaging with this group could potentially help me to maybe take something to them. And that's me.
Okay, so it's encouraging, you're feeling encouraged because these 2 teachers are working together, and you see that as an opportunity, as maybe working collectively to introduce empathy circles. And at the moment you've got no idea how that would be applied, but you sense that it's worth following it up. And
thank you. Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you, Katrina.
You're welcome. Okay, so maybe Jerry, would you listen to me or reflect back to me? So yeah, so listening to Meg, a lot of little light bulbs went off in my mind, and one of the things that I was thinking was I tend to agree with her that this would be much more workable, doable if we were working with kids over, around about the age of 12. So I'll pause there.
Okay, so you agreed, I guess not agreed, but you what Meg said really resonated with you, that there's an opportunity to focus on youth or students around the age of 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a 14-year-old granddaughter who's currently doing a scheme called the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. And a little kind of light went off in my mind thinking, well, I'm sure that we could get this into something like that. So it wouldn't necessarily be going through the schools, it would be going through an organization that works with school kids.
Mm-hmm. So you have was it granddaughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a granddaughter in a program that works with school kids, but not, rather than a program in school, that you felt like could be another opportunity for where this work can be shared with students.
Yeah, so her mum has approached me to ask if I can put a shout out for her to do something in some kind of community organization. And I was amazed at how quickly my friends and friends of friends have responded. And within like 24 hours, we've got what seems to be, an opportunity for her to work with a local group doing something she's never done before.
So when her mother asked you to kind of help her find an organization to participate in, or a program to participate in, you were able to identify one within 24 hours from your network.
Yeah, so I can sort of, just extrapolating that, that experience, I'm thinking, maybe I could ask if there's anything in this Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme that she has to do, which involves listening, emotional, kind of things that Meg was talking about in the Hours program. And it's just kind of giving me food for thought.
Okay. So you see the program, the Duke of Edinburgh scheme, that includes these kind of competencies for the youth. Is that right? Yeah. And it's giving you a lot of food for thought for how these different programs can be interrelated, or can be.
Well, I'm wondering whether there is some kind of aspect of that training where it's more on an emotional sort of communication level, whether it's not just job skills, or because they do camping and all sorts of things that challenge these children.
Okay, so you're seeing how these programs present opportunities, allowing the students to experience and overcome challenge.
Yeah, and my question was, or my thought was, maybe we could somehow this package that we're offering could sort of dovetail into what they're already doing. That was all. It was just a thought.
Yeah, so you had a thought that the experience of what we're doing could be complementary to in some of these other programs or schemes.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you, Katrina. Okay. So who hasn't gone, I guess?
Oh, Aaron, and Freddie, and Sally.
Okay. All right, Aaron, will you listen to me?
Listening.
Fantastic. Okay. So I've been working with youth, I think, most of my life. I was a tutor in my early days when I was in school. And back then the focus was purely on the academic, at least as far as I could tell.
So you've worked with youths for most of your life, and even when you were at school, you were working as a tutor. And back then, you noticed that life was almost solely about the academic.
Yeah, like the hard skills and such. But when I kind of left the education world for a while and then got brought back in when I went to grad school, it definitely was very clear that it wasn't just the academic and hard skills that was limiting our youth's ability to find and access opportunity, that there were other challenges in the way.
So when you left school and you left education and then you went to grad school, you started to tune into the fact that these hard skills aren't the only limiting factor which is preventing people from being able to access these opportunities.
Yeah. So I was out of education, between undergrad and grad school for about 10 years. Although I did some work in kind of online learning. It wasn't until I had a professional job and then went back to grad school that I really saw that what was missing was the social emotional learning and the ability for the students to be able to convey themselves in a way that showcases the skills they have and also listen to the people they're engaging with so that they can identify how their skills can be of value, for instance, in an interview.
So what I caught there was that you had 10 years between your undergraduate program and your grad program, and you did some work in online learning at that point. And am I right in saying it was only when you got to grad school that you started to realize that I can't remember exactly how you entered into this, but you mentioned about the fact that if youths could be able to develop their ability to not only communicate in a way which was showcasing their own abilities and their own skills, but then if they also couple that with the capability to be able to listen and hear other people's needs, that they would be able to then be able to see where they would be of service in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that sense of having value to offer is especially value from like an investment that you made, like going to school, right? It is something that can be transformational in the identity of many of our youths.
So you alluded to that sense of having value to give to the world, especially after coming out of that investment of time and resources, which is education, could be hugely transformational. This sense of being able to provide value could be hugely transformational for our youths.
Yeah. So that's why I've kind of dedicated my life to kind of helping people cultivate their kind of SEL capacity. Yeah.
And this is why you have dedicated your life to helping other people and youths develop their own social emotional learning.
Yeah. Do I have more time? Is that
just about done? Do you have a last thought? If you have something else you want to say?
No, I think that's good for now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for sharing. Okay, Bill, would you listen to me, please?
Sure.
So it's Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK at the moment. And it sort of sprung up on me because I've not been working in education for very long at all, really. So I've not tuned in with the calendar. And I found out on Monday, or maybe last Friday. Yeah, I found out last Friday. And then I'm finding that the leadership team in my school seems to enjoy creating roadblocks more than they enjoy creating facilitation. I'm going to rephrase that. They don't enjoy it, but they don't enjoy it. That was cynical. They, from my experience, when I go to them with a problem, I seem to be given roadblocks rather than facilitation and support. And so I've decided that I'm going to function on the philosophy of it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Okay.
So you just realized that it's Mental Health Awareness Week in England, and you haven't quite, it took you somewhat by surprise because you're kind of new to education and you haven't gone through the calendar a bunch of times. And so you were going to go to the powers that be in your school to try to put together some sort of, program or activity to address this. And what you found is that roadblocks were coming up in the political situation. So you've decided to abandon sort of trying to get the powers that be to back you, but rather it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, and then see what happens.
Yeah. So I've basically been doing like, I've been working like fungus rather than trying to work like a tiger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like sending roots out everywhere. And I've been just walking around the school speaking to everyone in every department about what I plan to do, apart from the leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
Until recently, I did mention it. But what I started to find was that there is so much passion and awareness of the toxicity in the education system, but these teachers have families and they need their job. So raging against the machine and going against the flow is terrifying for them because they have to support a family financially. Whereas I have no one that is like dependent on me financially, so I can be absolutely reckless and act on behalf of. I can sort of put my name out there for these teachers, and they sort of are sensing that, and so they're backing me really hard, basically.
Great. So you were talking, so essentially, rather than trying to get buy-in from the powers that be, you're trying to establish some grassroots enthusiasm among the teachers. And what you found is that there's a lot of pent-up desire for this sort of social emotional learning and to address these needs. But nevertheless, they also realize that the powers that be are not very interested, and that could jeopardize their job. So you're finding that you can kind of be the lightning rod, so to speak, or the pioneer, because you don't have anybody who's depending upon you. And so you're willing to take chances that they can't take in introducing this, but that they're really backing you.
Yeah. So I've run a couple of mindfulness sessions this week. I'm empathy circles, I believe, in the culture in which I'm in now, are too big of a leap for now because people won't even have the discussion about engaging in a practice of well-being at the moment. Whereas, and also I'm not skilled in empathy circles yet, but I have got experience running mindfulness sessions. So I'm trying to create, like self-motivation through creating an experience of relaxation this week, and it's been going fantastically. I'll pause there.
Sure. So you were talking about there isn't the understanding or the support for like a full-blown empathy circle, and nor do you feel that you have the expertise quite yet. But nevertheless, you have been doing mindfulness training and talking about what we talked about earlier, to create the desire that in mindfulness you're creating this sense of relaxation and well-being. And so that you've been doing that, and that has gone very well.
Yeah, may I say one last point?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I just want to affirm from my own experience that the power of creating an experience. Once someone's had the experience, the pressures can rise in their life and they can sort of lose sight, but it's such a transformative thing to give an experience rather than to just give information from my
Right.
experience.
So you're talking about the depths. When you can actually provide an experience for someone, it's much more profound and has more far-reaching effects than rather than just dispensing information.
Yes, thank you, Bill. I feel fully heard.
Great, my pleasure. All right, Freddie.
Hello.
Hey. So yeah, it's well, here comes the new boss, just like the old boss. What Aaron talks about, I was experiencing 40 years ago. I'll stop there.
Okay, so you said, here comes the new boss, like the old boss, and what Aaron is experiencing here, you experienced 40 years ago.
Right. And I worked with kids in extreme circumstances, violent, although I don't want to characterize them all as violent or by any means, but certainly the students that I had were extremely compromised on the autistic spectrum, and then also were in danger of being removed from their families or coming back from a hospital, or I actually did work in a hospital for suicide adolescents. So the population I worked with was very, very extremely challenged. I'll stop there.
Okay, so in the school you worked in, the kids were violent, but you don't want to label them as violent necessarily, possibly struggling with autism and at risk of losing their families and their homes. And you also worked in a hospital with adolescent suicidal kids.
Right. And so what you would see as far as a presentation of their behaviors is that you might see a book or a chair thrown. And my great learning over the years is that when you see that, you react to it, obviously, in the moment you have to for safety reasons. But what we would do when that happened is that we would group up, and what we would ask, the question that we would ask in order to address the problem long term is, what was the communicative intent of that act? And what the revelation to me is that everything we do is a communicative act. Everything. I'll stop there.
Okay, so in the hospitals or the schools, an action would happen, like one of the kids would throw a book or act out, and so you would react to that because you had to from a safety point of view, but you wanted to understand why, I think, and understand the communicative act, like what was the reason for them doing that, and yeah, if I got that right.
That's right. That's it. And so we would group up, and you would find that so and so wasn't fed that morning, and they didn't have enough food, or they had seen violence in the home, and they didn't have the words or the context to just say, hey, I need to be talked to. So they would be, pressure, and then something would trigger them, and then they would go off. But once we could identify what the issue was, and then make them feel heard, and beyond that, address it in some sort of effective way, the violence went way down. I'll stop there.
Okay. So yeah, in the groups, when you try to address these issues, like when these things happened, yeah, you began to realize that it was happening because there was pressure at home, like perhaps they saw violence at home, and pressure would build up until it would explode and something would happen. Something else.
Well, just when we understood the trigger, what triggered them, and we could address it, and they felt heard, the violence went down. That's it.
Okay, so when you identified the trigger and addressed the trigger, the violence went down.
Right.
And they felt.
Yeah, and I was very successful, and I have to say that I was part of a great team. It wasn't just, I give myself credit for being part of a great team, but I couldn't have done what I did alone. And so that was also part of, communication. But I will, brag a bit, and that 8 out of 10 over my career of students who came to my class, in need, who are danger of going to jail or hospital or residential, were able to stay with their families. And that told me the effectiveness of the interventions we were doing. Thanks, I feel fully heard after that.
Okay, so
it's okay. You want me to just...
No, I'm going to say it, but not in the right order.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry about it.
You said 8 out of 10 of the kids that were in your class stayed in their homes and they didn't have to leave their homes.
Yeah.
And you're very proud and you want to brag by saying that a little bit. And you're very grateful. You're very proud of what you did, but you couldn't have done it alone. You were part of a great team.
Yeah.
And well done.
Yeah, no, that was my Super Bowl. Thank you. I feel fully heard, Freddie.
Thank you. Okay.
And Sally hasn't had a chance yet.
Okay. So Sally, please, will you listen to me?
Hi, go ahead. I'm right here.
Okay.
No video though.
Okay, it's all right, Sally. Go ahead, Freddie.
Okay, so I'll share my bit of past from my school, I think. So I struggled a bit at school, and I struggled a lot at school. I went to 8 different schools. I was kicked out of all of them, nearly all of them. And I was there.
You want to just start with your schools? You went through 8 schools in your history, and you feel you were kicked out of all of them?
Yeah. And like I didn't really know why. Like I wasn't violent all the time, but I did do some violent things. But most of the time, it was I struggled to like follow the leadership of the teachers. I would rebel against their leadership, and I would go out of my way to manipulate the teachers and not do as I'm told. What was that?
Okay, so you were not you were rebellious because of the authoritarianism of your teachers and how they treated you with disrespect.
So I think whenever I got into trouble, I never knew why. I never knew. The first thing that would happen as soon as I go to the headmaster's office, like, why did you do it, Freddie? And I always just never knew why. I think from a young age and into my adult life, I struggled to see my emotions and just look at them and yeah, understand my emotions and understand why I felt like I did and why I was acting out, why I was pushing this kid over in the playground, why I was not wanting to do as I told. I'll pause now.
Okay, so you were always wondering why you were doing things and being forced to go to the headmaster's office, and you didn't understand your emotions and what motivated you in any way, shape, or form to push someone in the playground or all the way through your different levels of education. And so you were working with the emotional aspect now to see.
Yeah, so I've become aware of this in the last few years and been working on it through meditation and different things, and also why I'm here. And that's the other thing, having empathy for others, seeing others as a whole humans rather than things. Or, like, so, yeah, like it's been quite a journey, and yeah, I think now when I see other kids in school that struggle, it's yeah, I empathize with them, I guess.
So over the years you have struggled with why you've gone and you are on this journey. You've been exploring meditation and finding new ways to reach people in a human way through empathy and in a transformative method.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't work in a school at the moment, but I hopefully I'm going to become a surf instructor for the summer, and teaching like young kids and anyone who wants to surf in Bristol. And yeah, like it's scary, but I'm keen to make a difference. So that's it. I'll pause there.
Are you plan to be a surf instructor this summer, and that you can make a difference with kids in this new transformative place where you have moved your psyche?
Yeah, I look forward to it. So thank you, Sally. That feels really good.
Thank you. Okay, Freddie, I have to talk to you. I really feel inspired by the ability of you to come forward and share really difficult feelings that come from maybe a place that is so deep. And also, my two brothers were surfers, and I'm really envious of you for having so much fun in life.
Okay, thank you, Sally. You said that you're inspired by my coming forward with feelings that are quite very deep and sensitive to me. and you have two brothers that were surfers, and what do you say? You're envious of having so much fun surfing.
And I just myself understand what happened. I'm a lot older. I went through an authoritarian school system environment with the principal's office and the kids. Mostly, I don't really remember the girls, but they'd be in the corner or, from doing what, the spitball fights or going to the principal's office. And it bothers me that that kind of system, I sure hope it doesn't exist. And I don't think it works.
Okay, so you said that you're a little bit older and you went to an authoritarian school, and the girls in the school, I missed what you said, but they were doing something and they were in the principal's office, and yeah, it pretty bothers you. This does, and you don't think it works, the system. Is that right, Sally?
So the the girls were in kind of a separate situation, and the boys ended up in the principal's office, with a spanking or something shocking like that. And I believe that the authoritarian methods that at least were employed damage the children, and so they, it was blurry. Just as you said, you couldn't put a finger on what you had done.
Okay, so you said the boys were in the principal's office and the girls were in a different situation. You don't think the system works because you said it was blurry.
Right.
Sorry?
Exactly. That the boys couldn't, they couldn't understand what they had done, because in a punishment fight or flight state, you blank out.
Okay. The boys didn't understand what they had done because in a punishment fight or flight response, they blank out, and my understanding is so the rational mind disappears.
Yes. And so then the problem continues without a learning process and persists.
Okay, and from there the problem persists. A learning problem develops and then persists.
Okay, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Okay, so we've each had one round. I just want to recognize time. We have about 20 minutes left. And usually it's in a circle. It's good to go 3 or 4 rounds if you can. With this group, it would be a long time. So I'm just going to cut it off here for that and do a short debrief for everyone. And I put the question in the chat. We'll go around, I'll call on people. How was it for you? Any specific insights about implementation, needs satisfied, and needs still to be met? I am, we're having a series of cafes, and I'm really kind of in the process of developing this. And so I'm really trying to meet you and whoever where they are. So it's a question of like, oh, that was good. This kind of helped me on my way, but I still am looking for this or that. So, and then just generally how it was for you, this process. So I'll just go around my screen and we'll take a short, 30 seconds to a minute. And okay, so I'll start with Meg.
Well, I resonated with a lot of the things said. Especially, I think it was Aaron who said something about the difference between experiencing something and, but you also said the same. Be able to experience something is transformational, and this is for me the key factor. And I would like to leave the outcome of any experiential process very open, very open to in terms of outcome. So I think I have too short time to say really what I mean, but I think important is that when this empathic circle model goes into the schools, there will experientially change the way empathy has been worked out in a psychotherapist Carl Rogers active listening contest. And I see it coming, and I see it and I hear it coming from what you said. But how empathy itself will be changed by going to a school setting that is so directive, in my opinion, from where it started in a very non-directive way of the psychotherapist. This would be very interesting for me to observe.
I think that's one of the major innovations of the circle, is that you don't have a client therapist situation. That's all. Jerry.
Hi. Hi, William.
Hi. So the question is, how was it for you? Any specific insights about implementation, needs that were satisfied and needs still to be met?
I know I'm just still trying to get the hang of it. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, no, nothing. I'm just still trying to just absorb.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay, great. All right, Freddie.
How was it for me? Really, really interesting. Bill, when I was talking to you, I was sort of like, before that, I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. But yeah, like, it's just really interesting listening to everyone, and it was just stimulating a lot of my mind and my emotions, and like quite profound. And yeah, it took a lot of focus for me to listen to. I was really trying to listen, and like this is definitely a skill. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and I'm not too sure on insights of implementation. I think I'm too new.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, Aaron.
Jerry, I loved it when you did that. I must say. That was all. Yeah, to be honest with you guys, I'm sorry that my mind was very, very busy before I managed to share. I had a lot of like tension and busyness in my head. So I wasn't tuned in. I kept flipping over. I was like, oh, come on. But then once I'd shared, I only just realized that since I've shared, I've been listening really well and really relaxed. But before I shared, I just couldn't. I was really trying, and I was just like, my mind was so busy. So that's super interesting how if it feels, you know, like I've dropped a can of Coke and just gone and then closed the cap again. It's really visceral. Like the feeling in my chest is just so much more relaxed, and that's fantastic. In terms of the structure and points of implementation, I think I'm in the same boat where at the moment this is actually satisfying and fulfilling all my needs, and I can't conceive of any way it would be better.
Okay, great. That's fine. Okay. Katrina.
Yeah, so when I first came into the circle, I was like, oh, what have I got to add to this? What have I got to say? What, you know, why am I here? Kind of almost. But I found everything everyone said to be really, really relevant, and really it's given me food for thought. And I kind of, you know, see that things are evolving in a way that I actually I can't give you a label for it or explain any of it, but it just feels, is that just so feeling? So any specific insights about implementation? I'm not actually, do you know what? I don't really know what that means, to be honest.
Oh, just to, you know, if there was some sort of like what do they say in the military, actionable intelligence, you know, something you glean, you say, oh, I might try this or not. And that's to help me try to craft the experience. But I think it is evolving, and so it's fine if there weren't.
Right. Okay. So and needs satisfied, needs still some, yeah, I felt like my needs have definitely been satisfied. Just kind of broadening my mind and helping me to understand and to get some more practice and to listen and share with some really amazing people, and needs still to be met. Just hope that I can be here next week.
Great, great. Well, great having you, and certainly you made the circle better by being here, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anne.
I think I want to say the first and most important thing, it's like a real privilege and really valuable to sit in a room with people who have chosen to come and engage with this topic to try to get empathy to young people or empathetic skills and help them with it in their lives. And people are doing this in different settings and different stages of their lives, and it's kind of opening. It's a kind of it's been a good experience for myself. You know, I said that I used to be a teacher, and I haven't been a teacher for many years now, but I was for many years as well. And it reminded me, listening to, especially to Freddie and Bill, and realizing that some of my early work ever as a young adult was with young people in a children's home. And then I actually worked in a psychiatric hospital on a children's unit. And I just felt like I've gone a circle, and I wanted to branch into working with children with emotional and behavioral difficulties. And I had the privilege of being able to kind of be an assistant nurse in that setting, in that hospital, and be there basically and listen to them and just basically give empathy, show that I cared by being there and listen. And do my best to understand them, and it really makes a difference to people. So, and I don't know where I'm going to take it yet, and I think this is really useful. I felt like offering to Aaron, if he wants to do an empathy circle or cafe in his school with other people, I would call me. I'll come and help make it happen. If you want someone to come from the outside, I'd love to support you and your work. Or anybody else in what you're doing.
Great. You've already been a great help for me. I'll say that, Anne. Thank you. Sally.
I had a great time. Of course, I'm not a teacher, and just the way I look at it is the more people we can reach, and the children, and from my perspective and age group, growing up in a very unsuccessful education system, I really see the need for integration, either through a program from the outside, as was mentioned from the woman from Rome, Italy, or a program that goes through the existing funding, like whatever that is. But I worked for the state of California for 20 years, and there are all sorts of opportunities for these type of programs that are funded by the state of California.
Great, great. So I am so appreciative of everybody who's coming here to work on this. I will just say, I don't know whether it's going to be empathy circles. I hope it is. I think it's a very effective tool. That's why I do it. But if we, as a species, address our issues, it's going to be through working together, creating community, not seeing each other as enemies, but as, co-creators. And that's what we'll see. So I just wanted to say thank you all. We're going to continue next week. I think that based upon this, you've inspired me to just keep this going. I realize that where people are is they're kind of just experiencing the empathy circle, what I'm hearing, and deciding how does that fit in, or what tool can I use? And that's exactly what I want to be able to help you do. Decide what part you can do. It's a basic tool. Other tools can be used and built upon it. With that, and I watch a lot of the news and stuff like that. It gets me depressed. You guys give me hope. So thank you all. And thank you to everyone who takes the time to look at this video. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Right.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Bye,
See you soon.
everyone. Bye.
Are we meeting next week?
Yes. Okay. And I'll stay here if anybody has a last question or anything. I'll stop the recording now.